Okay, guys, welcome back to another Live Wire. I'm Jared Moore, and Live Wire is the program where we take your questions from the chat live. Today we're going to have MCN Citizen Brenda Golden in, and she's going to be talking about the Indian Perspectives, a project that is going to try to address the Land Run Monument in OKC in Bricktown. So without further ado, thank you for joining me today, Miss Golden.
Well, thank you, and I just want to welcome everyone into my home. If you'll just look at the wall behind me, my house is completely filled with Mvskoke Creek art. I collect Mvskoke art, so welcome, and thank you for having me on.
Mado. So the issue here is, and if you could elaborate on it, you know, what are you guys trying to accomplish here? What's the goal of this project?
Well, if you don't mind, let me just regress just a minute.
Sure.
And tell you about the origins of where this initially began, with the history being told in Oklahoma of the Oklahoma Centennial. And at that time, a group of us kind of convened a counter celebration, if you will, to the Centennial and the Centennial's, you know, great big parade and everything that they were planning. And with that Centennial in 2007, they contracted, by they, I mean the state Oklahoma Centennial Commission, contracted with Paul Moore to, who is a Mvskoke Creek citizen himself, to make these bronze sculptures of the Land Run, to memorialize the Land Run on a piece of land. And at the time, in 2005-ish or so, when they first contracted with him, you know, Bricktown wasn't really what it is now, right? So the group came together, called the Society to Preserve Indigenous Rights and Indigenous Treaties, specifically about teaching the true history about Oklahoma, how it came to be, and the glorification of the land runs being, you know, so misguided.
Yeah, and disrespectful.
And so since that time, the bronze sculpture development there at Bricktown in Oklahoma City has 45 big bronze statues depicting men on horses with pulling the wagons, and there's no mention whatsoever of the indigenous people that were living here prior to all the other people being removed here. And then, of course, there's no telling about the history of the allotment and how the land run affected us.
Right.
And so since that first 2007, we have, as a group, protested the 89er Day Parade in Norman, which they don't have anymore. We did that every year for a long time. We've tried to meet with the superintendent of schools to ask her to quit having land run reenactments in public schools. And that's been said that it's up to each district. So some districts have stopped doing that. And then last year in July, when, you know, Black Lives Matter and social justice issues were coming to the forefront, and statues of Columbus came down in some cities, and statues of Robert E. Lee, and we saw that as an opportunity to bring attention to the Land Run Monument, which, by the way, the official title is the Centennial Park. That's what it's the Oklahoma Centennial Park. So that's the official name of it. And we had a sit-in there last July in 2021, and as a result of that, what we called a sit-in, but hundreds of Native people came that day and braved the heat. There was a lot of heat exhaustion and people having issues, unfortunately. But Mayor David Holt met with us after that contentious, I will say contentious, because the Proud Boys and some militia showed up to protect the monuments from us savage Indians. The mayor met with a group of us, Sarah Adams Cornell, Kendra Wilson Clements, and I, and he said that he would ask someone from the planning department to meet with us and see what we could do. And so that's the background of addressing the history at the Centennial Park.
Well, and after those meetings, is that where I guess the monument that's going to be opposite of the Centennial Park, is that where all of those decisions were made, or where are we at on that process? Because I know part of what you guys are doing is you're getting Native comment on a proposal for a monument that's going to be on the other side. So where are we at on that stage right now?
Well, from a year ago, what started as us just wanting to update the website, we had some specific, we just started out saying that we just wanted our history to be told somehow equally, that might include a marker or a standalone something right there at the entryway. And that's what we first started discussing. And then we secured a grant from the Humanities Council to do that portion.
Okay.
And a member of our team, Jane Abraham, went to the city council and asked for some money for this project.
Right.
And lo and behold, they gave us $250,000.
Wow, that's great. That's awesome. Good on them.
So the first phase project is to gather information from as many people as possible to see what they would like to see told at the site where the Land Run monuments are, but adjacent to it. So phase 3 of the project will be actually putting something on the same area that we had the city in at. We've got quite a bit of acreage there, and we're going to hopefully raise some funds to do that. But the $250,000 is going to go immediately to something immediately to
right
to put there. So phase 1 is what we're doing right now. We're trying to collect as much information from people about their feelings when they see the Land Run monument and what they would like to see there to tell our side of the story.
And if you're just tuning in, we are taking questions from the chat. And the survey that Ms. Golden just mentioned, there is a link in the description of this video below. And inside of that Google folder is a brochure about the project that it kind of explains in depth what's going on. And also there is a survey there that you can send in and a QR code that you can scan with your phone to take the survey if you wanted to do it online. So check that link if you're interested in getting more information or going ahead and giving your opinion on the monument and things like this. I think the questions on it, I skimmed through asking how it makes you feel as a Native American and those types of things. But that's really...
Exactly. What would you like to see? What would be your idea of telling our side of the story? So this also includes, like I said, updating the materials on the website that when tourist visitors pull up the Centennial Land Run Memorial Park, they'll also now have information about us.
Awesome.
So that's
it's great to hear about the $250,000 from the city council there in OKC. Have you guys had any input or anything, approached any tribal governments on the project?
We are not at that phase yet. When we start going towards the third phase of the project, which is to actually put something of our own there, which might be statues, might be monuments, might be a laser installation. It could be a light show. I mean, we don't know yet because we haven't heard from everybody about what they want.
Right.
And we start fundraising. At that point, we'll probably reach out to some. Honestly, I'm very proud that this is a grassroots effort between, just regular old Joe citizens here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Making a difference.
Yeah, and I want to thank you guys for all your hard work on doing that. I know, just as myself as a Native American, anytime I see natives out there protesting and then also negotiating with the powers that be to try to, just like what you were saying, even out the playing field on how history is told is very important, and nobody else is going to do it except for us, so it's important that we get out and do that as much as we can. And it's not an easy thing, because I know just like when that protest happened originally, there was some concern because some of the opposition guys had firearms and automatic weapons and things on them when they're at the deal.
Yes, they did.
Just the generational trauma of it for myself personally, I was like, this is a bad scene. I know that you guys, anytime you're having a protest and people are bringing automatic weapons, can be a very scary scene, even if you're just a news person covering it. So.
But what was ridiculous about that, Jared, is that these bronze statues they're so big and they're so heavy that the groups, the two militia groups and the Proud Boys that were there to protect the statues from coming down, it had to just be pretense, because when you do see these, there's no way that we could tear down their in concrete, heavy objects, bronze, and several tons. And anyway, that was never our intent.
And I think it misses the point of what you guys were saying anyway. What like the protest wasn't necessarily saying, hey, the land run didn't happen. Like these statues, this didn't happen. It was saying that there's like only half of the story being told, like the settlers coming in, because that's what the statues are, is these settlers in their horse-drawn carts and things coming in the land run. That happened, absolutely. There just also needs to be told the Indian side of that, and the allotment and everything that led up to those actions, in order for it to be a balanced thing. And also, with the number of citizens in the state that have some Indian heritage, even if they may not be a citizen, and then definitely the number of Native American citizens in the state being the largest in the nation, is just for it to be for all Oklahomans, it really ought to tell that standpoint, because like you're shutting out 3/4 or a quarter at a minimum of the population of the state from the discussion there. And it wasn't an issue. I don't think it's exactly the same, because I know that they were probably there from what happened with the Confederate generals' statues, right? But in those specific instances, right, those statues were being torn down because the South lost the war, and those guys were officially traitors, so there's no reason to have
what they represented.
Right. Well, I mean, that's not what the same thing that you guys were there protesting, saying about the land run people. You weren't there saying that they lost a war, or, what I mean? Like that there wasn't any reason for them to attack the statues in the first place. So that's what, but yeah. I think they were seeing it as a PR opportunity, really. So, but at the same time,
a lot of us didn't. It didn't faze us a bit.
That's great, and I'm glad to hear that there's been continuing progress on this, because just like with that incident, those groups came in and they tried to piggyback on the issue, but the natives continued to work even after those groups are gone, and now we're seeing some of the results from that. And I encourage anybody who's watching this who's a Native American, to take the survey, go to the link below, read the documentation about the project, and then take the survey and send it in, or scan the QR code and go take it online. Because the more input we have in this process, the better it's going to be, and a more representational of the actual history of what happened. The monument the both of the monuments can be in the future, because I think the whole objective with the Centennial Park is so that if you have, it's kind of like a tourist destination thing.
It's a way tourist, yes.
So it's only going to behoove the state and the state government as well if that side of the story is told, especially when you have all of the things that have happened during this process, because it goes way back to 2005, like you mentioned, and we've seen the McGirt decision, which is just like a total, tectonic shift in how all of the state operates and everything. So it would, from my perspective, just as a Joe citizen, it would behoove them to tell both of those things, because especially now, because people ask questions about McGirt and those issues all the time. So.
Well, this does boil down to a treaty issue. I mean, that's one of the things that when I answered this questionnaire for myself, and I'm not telling anybody that has a way to answer, but for me, the thing that I think people need to understand is that this was supposed to be Indian territory forever, and our ancestors died. So a lot of our people died on forced marches to get here, and it was supposed to be ours forever and ever, and, how that turned out. The broken treaty is, that's just the basis of where they went. So to me, that's kind of where my part of what I think should be addressed.
Well, I agree.
But that's just me. So that's what I'm saying.
Not for nothing, but I agree with you, and the Supreme Court kind of agrees with you too on the treaty aspect of it. So I just want to read a couple of comments we've had in the chat. Crystal Shaman says thank you, and then T.Y. Pearl says Mado, and for everybody watching, if you don't know, Mado means thank you. So, and we want to thank you guys too for tuning in. There's a question here. It says, how about a monument to the Trail of Blood on Ice? And that's from T.Y. Pearl. I'm not. I think, are you referring to the flight to Kansas? In the Civil War, T.Y. Pearl, for anybody who's reading the chat, go in there and kind of elaborate on the Trail of Blood on Ice, so that everybody has a better idea what you're talking about there. With this project, could you give the audience an idea of what the timeline is? Because we were talking about a little bit before we started. You guys are going to take comment for a certain period, right? How long is that going to last?
We're taking comments up until the end of August. We have to have our report done under the grant, which, by the way, if I didn't mention it before, we got a grant from the Humanities Council to do this portion of our research to gather information, and we have to have our final report to them by September 30th. So we said, well, we can go at least until August 30th collecting responses, and that'll give us a month to wind up everything. And then once those responses are done, we'll move to phase 2, which again, the City Council has appropriated $250,000 for us to put a little something. It could be a standalone. It could be just something, as well as the website being changed. And then in about, I would say, this is 3 to 5 years, we'll have an idea or a framework. In 3 years, if we're going to put competing statues there, if people have decided they want blood on ice, whatever that means to you.
Well, just to interrupt real quick, T.Y. Pearl says that he's referring to Abithliahola's flight to Kansas during the Civil War. So there was a period in the Civil War where the chief of Abithliahola for the Creek Nation had to flee up to Kansas from the Southern Army. He took a bunch of his freedmen slaves with him, because Abithliahola was an anti-slave guy. So, that I agree that is a horrible tragedy. And we actually, on our channel, there's an interesting bit about that. If you go look up our, we have a video that we did about the Sand Creek Battle Museum. So check that out on our channel. Sorry to interrupt there. I just wanted to get that in there for the audience, so they have some idea.
See, and that could be something that could be told maybe in an exhibit. We've talked about having something with a glass, and yeah, we could change out exhibits. I don't know. We're taking people's responses so we can frame all
Absolutely.
of that. So please go to that QR code and put in what you think you would like to see down there at the Centennial Land Run Memorial.
Absolutely.
And we'll be compiling that. So by the end of September, we'll probably have a good idea about what the majority of people would like to see. Just not only on the website, the Land Run Monument, but also as an installation, because we have that whole area to develop down there that has been set aside for us by the city of Oklahoma City.
Awesome. Well, it's been great to talk to you about it. Is there anything that we haven't mentioned about the project that we need to mention for sure?
Well, can I just mention a couple of the other people?
Sure.
I mentioned the grassroots activists.
Go for it.
Which is Sarah Adams Cornell, who's awesome, and Kendra Wilson Clements, who's also awesome. But from the city, we have Brian Chambers from the Arts Council, Jane Abraham from the Humanities, Robbie Kinzel from Planning, and Randy Marks, who is the art project manager for the city. So we have regular meetings, and we will be taking this information and hopefully putting it into a real something that we can see within 5 years.
Okay, awesome. We had a question pop in here, but I think it got answered earlier. T.Y. Parole is asking, any plans to raise private donations to go bigger? So, and you might have tuned in after we covered this part, T.Y. Parole, but basically what the plan is right now is they've got a grant to conduct a survey on what natives want to see out of the monument, and then after that point, they're going to start looking at donations and fundraising in order to acquire the land and all of those types of things there. So,
let me phase 2 of the project is we have a $250,000 appropriation from the city to do something small. And we can set aside an area for us to put something right there. But then we have that whole area, which is stage 3, where we had the sit-in, that's what we'll need to raise private donations to put whatever we're going to put. Like I said.
So stage 3 is the donation stage. So we're in stage 1 where it's gathering public comment. Stage 2 is the $250,000, and then stage 3 is the fundraising portion.
And we'll put something big, something. So we say we want our statues as big as those.
Absolutely. Well, and
we got to raise the money. That's
really,
a $3.5 million installation.
Really, we ought to get Paul.
Can we raise that much?
Yeah, we ought to get Paul Moore. He's a Creek, and he did the first one, so he ought to do the second one. Just to even out his work. So, but that would be. I think that would be great.
Yeah. Well, we have Yatica Fields and Anita Fields as our they're kind of helping us shape from the art perspective.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention that they are part of this project.
And is he still the artist in residence up here at Tulsa?
Yes.
So and for the audience too, if you want to check out what's going on with him, I'm blanking on the name of the gallery, but there's a gallery in downtown Tulsa where he is the artist in residence, and they have shows like every Friday night of up-and-coming artists and stuff. They open the gallery space to people, so you can go down there and check it out. And then his work is also, like, he has shows there and occasionally shows in the Gilcrease and other places.
I know he and his mother are something called the Tulsa Fellowship.
Yeah. That's so he part of that fellowship is they have a little gallery space downtown where they have people can submit their work, and then they can get some little studio space down there, and then they have every Friday night or so, or this is how it was a year ago, they were having walk-through shows where you could go in and check out the up-and-coming works that are down there. So check that out. Tulsa
so
Artists
we're
Fellowship.
Very honored that they agreed to help us with.
He's been doing a lot of work too. He painted the mural in Okmulgee here, and then he's had a couple of big projects nationally. So he's a good guy to work with, and he knows that whole process with public monies. So that's a he's a great asset to have on your team.
Well, Dr. Fields is too. So
oh yeah, absolutely, for sure. So, well, we're going to wrap up here, guys. I think we're getting close. We've had a lot of comments. I do want to do a little housekeeping. This shirt is going to be on sale at Festival and online. It's not on sale yet because it's brand new. We just got them. But if you come to the festival, you can pick up one of these. Or I think by Festival, it's going to be in on our online store. Also, we're going to have another live stream tomorrow. Mvskoke Media has partnered with Channel 6, I think it's Channel 6 or Channel 8, and Non-Doc to host. They're hosting it, but we're restreaming their live stream of the debates for the Office of Attorney General of Oklahoma. So if you tune in tomorrow at 5:30 here to our YouTube channel, we're going to be live streaming those debates, and they're going to go pretty late. I think the Democratic part of the first part is the Republican part, and then at 6:45 or 7:45 the Democratic candidates have their debate, and then I think the primary for that is actually at the end of the month, but don't quote me on that. So tune in tomorrow if you want to check out those debates. And with that being said, Ms. Golden, thanks for being on the program.
Well, thank you very much for having me on, and I hope everyone, regardless of when they listen, goes to the QR code in the comments and gives us some input.
Please do.
Thank you very much.
Please do. Please do. And also get in touch with me when we get to stage 2 and 3, because I want to keep following this as it goes along. It's a great story. So with that being said, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Chihichat Lees and Mado.